Deputy Commissioner at the EC, Dr. Bosman Asare, says it is alarmed by the attempts by some persons to get minors enrolled onto the electoral roll, which it says is partly fueled by the use of the guarantor system of identification.
We continue to receive reports that minors and non-Ghanaians are being encouraged by certain persons who are members of political parties to register as voters. The Commission has seen a report from the Western region, specifically in Impoho, where some 2 persons who allegedly facilitated the registration of 5 minors have been apprehended by the police. We wish to use this opportunity to urge parents especially to dissuade their children who are less than 18 years from registering as voters. Similarly, we beseech the national leadership of the political parties to discourage the executives in the regions and the constituencies from transporting minors and foreigners to the registration centers. The objective of the Commission, as always, has been to have a credible register for the 2024 elections and beyond. We believe the political parties, as the main stakeholders in the general election, must be dedicated to supporting a credible register as well. As a result, we find attempts by parties to support the registration of minors and foreigners as completely unacceptable, and it is aimed at undermining the country's electoral democracy. We urge the police to apply the laws on those who have been apprehended to serve as a deterrent to others in the enterprise of facilitating the registration of minors and foreigners.
The Commission believes the solution to these problems will be to use the Ghana card as the only mode of identification.
We have also noticed that the disturbances occurring at some of our registration centers is due to the fact that some people are doubting the ages of some of the applicants. This is the reason why the Commission has been advocating for the usage of the Ghana card, which has the date of birth and the nationality of the bearers of the card, and the abolition of the guarantor system. We are hopeful that in the next registration exercise, applicants will use the Ghana card as the means of identification. The guarantor system continues to dominate the forms of identification used in the 2024 registration exercise, as in the 2023 exercise. This is something the Commission is not proud of because it is used by political parties and certain persons to facilitate the registration of unqualified persons, such as minors and foreigners. The current confusion at the registration centers is attributable to the guarantor system, because we are seeing many people who others are alleging they are minors and they are trying to register, and others are also insisting that we think you are not 18 years.
The Commission also rejected claims it was discriminating against some groups.
The Commission has no intention of favoring any particular regions, constituencies, or zones in this registration exercise. All such commentaries implying that the Commission has sent bad equipment to certain parts of the country, or frustrating the registration exercise in some regions or constituencies are championed by persons who are completely ignorant of the processes of the Electoral Commission. It's unfortunate that some will accuse the Commission of discriminating against a section of Ghanaians in the registration exercise. We wish to use this medium to again assure all Ghanaians that the Commission is committed to ensuring that all qualified persons get onto the voters' register and vote in the December 2024 presidential and parliamentary elections.
Although the Commission has already apologized for the wrong tabulations which happened over the weekend, they insist that it is not a major issue. However, they have taken steps to ensure it does not happen again.
Clearly, you can see the real figures were correct, but the disaggregation of the various days. So I don't see this as anything which is so major for people to make a beef about. The bigger picture, the total registered at the time, about 143 was also captured correctly.
Although the NDC has instructed their agents on the grounds to record every serial number of every machine used, the EC insists they will not share these numbers with any political party.
We won't make the serial numbers available to any persons or any political parties. So if the parties strongly believe that they have a way of getting it, this is a democratic society, so they can go ahead and get it. But the EC will not make anything available, and we've made it that very, very clear in our statement. So that will not be made available to the political parties.
The Electoral Commission says they are on course to register more than 600,000 individuals. For Joy News,
Michael Ashale.
Well, that's the latest situation there, and we'll quickly get into the conversation with our guests on the different dynamics. Joining us, we have Dr. Peter Boamah Otokuno. He is from the NDC. He joins the conversation. And we also have CDD fellow Dr. John Osai Kwapong. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Benjamin.
Dr. Otokuno, good to have you join the conversation. You would have to unmute, please.
Good morning, Gapo. I can hear you.
All right.
Sorry for that.
It is good to have you join the conversation. Let's just start with your appreciation of the limited voter registration exercise over the last few days. Day one was characterized by a lot of problems here and there. So far, what have you seen? I'll start with you, Dr. Otokuno.
Well, as I said last week, it was early days yet to make some conclusive statements in respect of the registration exercise. Day one was fraught with a lot of irregularities, which we felt was avoidable. But again, we have seen major improvements in those irregularities. And in most cases, they have been eliminated, except that we have had some few outstanding issues with the Electoral Commission, which we are still pursuing. And I'm sure you followed our press conference read by our national chairman last week, making demands on the release of the serial numbers for the BVRs, which we thought was very crucial, particularly owing to the unresolved claims of the EC that some BVR machines have been missing from their watch. And so we have been monitoring the process very closely so that nobody takes undue advantage of the difficulties and the challenges confronting the Electoral Commission and the processes to deny the people of this country their right to vote. Indeed, we have also observed with much worry and much disquiet how the Electoral Commission have responded to some of the issues that have come up, particularly the response they gave in respect of our demand for the BVR serial numbers to be released. We read with much dismay the claim that they are afraid if they give the serial numbers to political parties, it will compromise the processes and the data will be compromised and so on and so forth. Especially when this same group of people had made the argument that the missing BVRs had no threat at all to the electoral database, and that when you have the machine with all the serial numbers on it, it was immaterial and nobody could get into the system. And so we have been still pushing very hard, and we have requested our agents and all the registration centers to make it a point as part of their responsibilities to procure or secure the serial numbers for the various BVRs. And the reason we are doing so...
Wait, are you saying that you're going to do this on the blind side of the EC, contrary to what the EC is saying? Because that would make it, in a way, illegal. They are saying that this could compromise the elections, but you're going to go ahead anyway to get them. Is that what you're saying?
This in no way, Ben, is going to compromise the elections.
But the Electoral Commission itself, I'm just saying this. The EC says you do this, you are compromising the election. Yet you say you are still going to go ahead and do this.
You see, Ben, the serial numbers on the device has absolutely nothing to do with the database. Rather, it has something to do with the security of the equipments that are being used, because we believe that the equipments that are missing, if anybody has those equipments and is able to activate access to them, and I explained to you last week that they said the laptops in the BVRs were those that were stolen, but the BVRs, the laptops are the parts of the equipment that carries the software. Now, if anybody has access to that software The person can register any number of people without recourse to the due process. And so we have said that it is not the serial number that is the most important. But if political parties have it, then we would be able to track every single serial number and the number of people that they have registered, so that when the Electoral Commission puts out their final figures, we would be able to put it side by side and be able to tell that these numbers are inconsistent. Just some few days ago, we have seen the kind of errors that the Electoral Commission claim they have made in terms of the tabulation of the number of people who have registered. These are clearly unavoidable and looks rather even suspicious. Because if you are not able to add numbers in tens of thousands, how can you add numbers in millions? And the EC is telling us that we shouldn't be worried because they are making mistakes in adding numbers in tens of thousands. And this is the Electoral Commission that is supposed to declare results that will come up to millions. And they are saying that we shouldn't be worried. I think that the Electoral Commission should take Ghanaians a little bit more serious. They should bear in mind the responsibility, the onus that they carry. They actually carry the heart of the nation, because elections is the heartbeat of every nation. And our democracy is most important, most critical for the survival of our nation. They must take things more serious. And the serious ones are the ones that the Electoral Commissions are disregarding. And they are rather, following the things that do not matter. We have equipments that are missing. The Electoral Commission has decided to change the activation processes. We believe the new activation processes even makes it easier for anybody to compromise the system. When you have not found your missing laptops, now you are saying that all the equipment should have self-entry, so self-authorization. So you go there, your authorization code, you do the self-entry, then rather the code that you have used to authorize, you will send it to the Electoral Commission and headquarters, which means that those 5 equipments, if I am having it, and I'm able to generate my own activation code, it means that I have full access to the system. We think that is problematic. Again, last week I mentioned that
Dr. Tokuno, so final point on that. Final point on that. Please go ahead.
Yes, we remain suspicious of the reason why the Electoral Commission would change the processes in the first place. Because previously, what they did was that from the headquarters, they give you a general entry activation code, which will get you to activate the system, the software, the various district offices or at the various registration centers. Then after the activation, you would generate your new activation code, which you are going to use for the period, which will be known to nobody at the headquarters and nobody apart from the district registration officer, which is the director. This, we believe, was very important because then it helps the security of the DVRs and the data that they capture. Now, they are generating the codes and sending it to the headquarters. With those codes, anybody can use those missing equipments and mimic.
Dr. Tokuno, so point made.
Register additional people.
Point made on that. Point made on that. I think it's clear enough from the last conversation. Let me just welcome aboard Dennis Miracles Abuaje. He speaks for the Bawumia campaign. Miracles, good morning.
Good morning, bro.
I hope you're well.
I'm well, my brother.
All right, thank you for joining the conversation. Sweetie, can we
I
also
want to
find
bring
out
in Dr. George Osai Kwapong from the CDD before we come back to you, Miracle. One of your colleagues, Dr. Kwapong, I think a research analyst at the Ghana for CDD, Gilfred Boating Esiama, he says that the Electoral Commission and the Ghana Police Service were not prepared for this limited voter registration exercise. Even on the back of the EC addressing, the public yesterday and all the issues we've seen coming from the few days that this registration has been underway. Do you agree that the EC and Ghana Police Service were not adequately prepared for this exercise? What are your thoughts?
Good morning. Thank you very much. I think, especially because of the issues that were witnessed on day one and the challenges that quite a number of people or various registration centers faced, was really an indication of the lack of full preparedness on the part of the EC. I mean, I know that sometimes technology, can let you down, and technology doesn't work when you need technology to work. But one would have hoped that these were things that the EC would have anticipated. But at least you also, whilst I agree with Guilfred's assertion of that, I also think that at least you also ought to give the EC, some credit for at least immediately, upon recognition of those challenges on day one, immediately put in some measures to try and forestall, further challenges and further issues.
So this issue about serial numbers for the BVRs, that Dr. Tokuno is saying that they are going to go ahead and find the serial numbers for each BVR device. Is this as significant as they're making it seem? I mean, the EC is saying that it might compromise the elections, the integrity of the elections, but they believe that they need it to monitor so that they can tell if there's something fishy happening. Is it as significant as is being
this is the first time that I have heard of this request, right? I mean, in terms of ever since we introduced this as part of our, our electoral system, no political party has asked for these serial numbers. But it looks like it has been occasioned by the disclosure that some equipment, had gone missing, etc., etc. But when you look beyond the demand and the reasoning behind the demand, you notice that at the heart of this issue is a deepening mistrust of the Electoral Commission and a deepening mistrust between Ghana's main opposition political party and the EC. I was very encouraged when the NDC returned to IPAC, because for me it was a good and positive signal that after a period of absence, at least they were signaling that they were ready to have a more positive, constructive engagement with the EC. But it looks like the relationship is starting to get frosty again, with a certain amount of suspicion in terms of they are just not that confident that the EC is out to treat them fairly. And when you genuinely feel that way, every step that an institution takes would be viewed with suspicion, and therefore you would want to demand a whole lot of, assurances as part of the process to make sure that you are not blindsided. And I think that is what is strongly driving some of these demands, for example, for the BVR serial numbers. I sincerely believe that if there was mutual trust between the EC and the NDC, they wouldn't be too worried about certain things. They would appeal to the better angels of the EC. But in the absence of that kind of trust, everything, you have to keep you are driven by this. I have to keep my eyes very wide open. I have to make sure that I'm watching you at every step way. Yeah.
Doc, so quickly on that, do you feel, when you look at the breakdown of trust and the two different parties, the EC and the NDC, what roles have been played that have brought us to this point? And do you think this breakdown of trust could impact election 2024?
Yeah.
If not handled properly, that is.
If I can trace it, I think a lot of it has to do with the aftermath and the lingering effects of the 2020 election. And then sometimes I also feel like part of it also has to do with the way and manner in which Madam Charlotte Osei was removed from office and replaced with Madam Jean Mensah, right? Which sort of seemed like we want our own EC in terms of the ruling party who's more favorable to us. It also didn't help with some of the additional appointments to the EC in terms of some known partisans who were appointed to the institution. So when you add all of that, a key player like a major opposition party would always view some of your moves with suspicion. I know that there were also issues at IPAC. Instead of using deliberation as well as consensus building, the NDC generally felt that their treatment at the IPAC made it pointless to participate in IPAC issues. So again, all of that contributed to, look, we don't even want to be part of this. Now they are back. I hope they stay. But But I think it is incumbent upon the EC to continue to demonstrate that they are really a very fair and impartial arbiter. The mistrust is not just between the NDC and the EC.
Right.
I've said this repeatedly. If you look at the most recent Afrobarometer, the level of trust in the EC is too low. And going into such a major election, one would hope that they would always be guided by reassuring the Ghanaian people and reassuring all the political parties that we are not out to do anyone in. We are not out to get any political party. Which is why even something like a computational error, if there was trust when you commit a computational error, everyone is more likely to give you some benefit of the doubt. But if you look at the presser explaining the error that they put on their social media page on Facebook, for example, a lot of the comments, you can see that they were underpinned by, well, we don't believe you, we don't trust you, things like that. And I think that is one of the things that the EC should really watch out for, right? Whatever quality assurance processes they have internally,
right.
If a simple infographic has to go through 3 hands, add another 4 or 5 steps, right? Because you can't afford any errors in an era where trust is at a very low level. You
right.
don't want to reinforce that narrative of mistrust.
That is, just briefly, very briefly, what has been your assessment of Miracles Aboagye? What has been your assessment of the process so far?
Very briefly, let me say that the isolated cases of confrontations and minor attempts to rather minors are completely uncalled for. And all those involved should be dealt with according to the law drastically. But in terms of the numbers and in terms of I think that today was when we had challenges. But so far, I believe that taking off quickly and the registration is going on quite well.
So we've looked at the numbers as well. Looking at the national total, we are looking at north of 250,000, at least per what I have seen, which is encouraging. But there have also been the other side of the process, people with arms, machetes, guns at these centers disrupting the process. People attempting. Let me land. People attempting to register minors. Some people getting arrested on both sides. NDC, MPP, busing. What's your reflection on those? How can we make the process better?
They should be arrested. I mean, our democracy has grown too much for this absolute uncalled for behavior. It's completely uncouth. It's unlike us. Let us forcefully establish our protest, but without violence. At the registration centers, there are several civil processes to register your protest and get your concerns addressed. So why do you go to a registration center with machete and guns and what have you? I think these things are things that when it comes up, we should glorify them by discussing them on air as if they are said. Let's get them arrested.
We are not glorifying them. It is the same party people, from your party and Dr. Tokuno's party who are engaging in these things.
And there was them. And then the has been arrested. Now that if you arrest them, I deal with you.
Dennis, your line, your connection, we are losing you. An MPP person has also, yes, better. The Mpoho,
I am saying that
Mpoho MPP guy has also been arrested.
Has just been arrested. Deal with the MP. If an MP is arrested, deal with him. We shouldn't even have a conversation around it. The laws are clear. Don't go to the registration center with violence. And don't go there with tags and guns. If you go there, let the security arrest them. It doesn't matter which party. We have come too far as a country, as a people, to be having this conversation and make like this way for.
Miracles, it seems like all these issues.
Or is a member of parliament deal with the law? People.
Your line is we keep losing you. So can you try that again? Yes.
Is it better now?
Yes.
I am saying that we should move away from discussing these actions of these uncouth actions as if they have a place in our electoral process.
But they are happening. They may not have a place, but they are happening. So we have to talk.
Deal with them. That's why there are laws. Why did we create the laws? We created the laws because we knew there will be hoodlums like this. There will be miscreants like that. So apply the law to the latter. It's not an issue of discussion. The NDC MP that was arrested, deal with it. If an MPP MP is arrested, deal with him. If an MPP executive is arrested, deal with him. If an NDC MP executive is involved, deal with them. We need to discuss it today. Our democracy has come too far. Our electoral processes have come too far for us to allow few people to disrupt this simple thing that we enjoy as a
well, Dennis, please hold for me. It looks like every time every time there's conflict somewhere, these registration centers, it's coming from the guarantor system. And the EC yesterday also lamented that they are worried because both major political parties want to grant for more than 10 people and bringing in people, foreigners, young people to come and register in places that they are not from. And then the resistance starts into a conflict. How are you, or how is your party communicating to your grassroots party representatives on the issue of this guarantor system? And how are you ensuring that they are not actually exceeding the number of 10, which is resulting in this conflict? Because even from Ayawaso Central, I was there myself. They said it was an MPP guy who was trying to bring more than 10 people to come and guarantee for them, which started issues.
You keep mentioning MPP.
Oh, but I'm telling you because I was there. I was there when the conflict happened.
The NDC MP that is also reported officially by.
My question remains: what is the communication to your party representatives at the grassroots?
Use that one too as an example. But the thing is that it is one of the reasons why the EC earlier on was proposing the use of the Ghana card for this kind of registration, and we supported and agreed with them. Because that would have taken away all these unnecessary tension in this.
Yeah, but that could have also disenfranchised some others. There was a need for the balance.
How? You could have gone to the national. What we had to do was to strengthen the national identification system and make sure that they have the capacity to produce the card. How does that disenfranchise anybody?
You say what it would have meant would be to strengthen. You have not done the thing after the fact. You've not done that. Some people still don't have it. Dennis, I always say this when we're having a conversation. Let us have a conversation on that level. You've not done the thing yet. Some people don't have the card. How do you expect them to get it?
You are interrupting me. Can I also speak? I am saying that what we should have done. You have your view. Let me share my view. Why don't you want me to share my view? You think that.
Go ahead. The time is ticking. Share your view.
What we should have done was to enhance the capacity of the National Identification Authority to provide these cards. That was also an option. We could have done that. Without that, we have a guarantor system. Unfortunately, there are few isolated places. If you compare the places we are experiencing these to the places where we are having peace and quiet, I think these are few isolated. Let the law deal with them. And in fact, of whether executive or executive, the case of the CM, for example, let the law them, then would realize if you behave like this, the law with you. That is the position on the matter. It is not about changing. It doesn't.
Right. We're still losing you, so we'll try to reconnect, or we'll just encourage that you move a bit of a distance from where you are. Hopefully the line will be better. Dr. Otokuno, I have a question. Why is it that these political figures, and let me stick to your party, members of parliament, must be at these centers? What are your fears to the extent that you must all troop there? Because it's a recipe for chaos. You have NDC bigwigs there, MPP bigwigs there. It's a recipe for chaos. This will continue happening until we find, why can't you just trust whatever agents you have on the ground to do it? And then you have these bigwigs showing up. What is it? Dr. Otokuno, that one was for you.
Ben, I think that we are misconstruing the facts here. And
who is misconstruing what?
all of us. I mean, about MPs going to the registration centers and all that. The MPs are the key beneficiaries of the registration exercise. And so they cannot exclude themselves from the process.
I'm not saying they should exclude themselves. Can't they have agents there? Why do they have to be physically there?
So they must monitor the processes. And monitoring the processes means that they must visit the centers. And so you would have instances where MPs are visiting the centers. And so that is not the issue. The issue mainly is about political violence that has become part of our electoral process, that has actually been entrenched by our friends in the MP. And you saw that from the 2020, in fact, in the run-up to the 2016 elections, and they have been very consistent in the perpetration of violence in our electoral process.
Your side has not been angelic. Your side has not been angelic on that front either. Your side has not been angelic. Don't paint it as though it were an NPP problem.
Have you seen NDC tax or the use of police and military killing people, maiming people, hurting people, causing violence all over in the last few elections? I mean, go back to the last 4 elections and cite examples for me. You would hardly see any instance where the NDC has sent tax to attack any registration center, any voting center, or to disrupt any election process. Now, the current issues, let's pick them case by case. He is readily mentioning Collins Dawda and the MPs being arrested and all that. What is the case in the Collins Dawda matter? Collins Dawda was not at the police station. The claim by the police was that some vehicle being used is a vehicle known to belong to him. And what was happening in Sunapo South? The MPP tax had attacked our constituency executives. They had beaten mercilessly and manhandled our constituency executives, including our regional youth organizer. And so some supporters of Collins Dawda, who had the instance, decided upon they were patrolling with the vehicle. So upon hearing that, they decided to visit the center and see what happened. And so they got there, then they had to intervene and stop the confusion. You have seen videos of violence perpetrated. You
say intervene and stop the confusion. They ended up engaging in violence themselves.
And yes, so I mean, Ben, when you get to a point and they are beating your people, what will you do? You fold your arms and clap for them. You would have to engage. And that is exactly what happened. And so, in fact, as we speak, some of our constituency executives are still in the hospital trying to seek treatment. And this violence was perpetrated by the MPP tax. Why are they not being arrested? So on that score, I would agree with my friend in the MPP that, I mean, anybody who perpetrates this violence needs to be arrested. See what happened in Hafuano Southwest, Mankraso. You saw the videos. Police officers were standing aloof. They had folded their hands and they were looking at this MPP tax, pack the NDC executives, hit them, injure them, and nobody was doing anything. And it is widespread everywhere. All the violence that is being perpetrated in this election are being perpetrated by MPP tax. And so those are the issues that we have been speaking to.
All right. So as we conclude the conversation, what then is the solution? What then is the way forward, at least from your end as a party?
Ben, all that we are saying is that those who have been put in charge of security at the police station must work. But again, I want to abuse our minds that this violence is as a result of the non-usage of the Ghana card for registration. It is not true. It is neither here nor there.
All right.
In fact, most of the instances, the issues that they are fighting over is not about guarantor system. Indeed, let me explain. Indeed,
you have limited time to do that.
Children that they are fighting over. Men, if you may allow me a few minutes, most of the children, the underage, the minors that they are fighting over, are those that are carrying Ghana card. You would visibly see that this is a minor, but the person is carrying Ghana card. Now, the foundation of the problem has not been cured because Ghana card cannot be the solution. I've gone rounds. I have been to a lot of registration centers, and you see people who are barely 10 years old, and they are carrying Ghana cards. That says that they are 18 years old. What will you do? In that case, what will you do? Remember that in the processes for registering for Ghana card, you also have the guarantor system where you can go without a birth cert, and somebody will say that you are 18 years, and they will register you. So
Right.
the processes of
Right.
even registering the
Right.
Ghana
Dr.
card
Tokuno.
is also flouted with irregularities,
Right.
which must be cured.
All right.
And so let's not
We'll have more
oversimplify
time
the
to
matter and say
dilate
that
on these
if we use
issues,
Ghana
Dr.
card, we will
Otokuno.
cure the problem.
We're grateful for your time, Dr. Peter Boamah Otokuno. Let's hear briefly from Dennis Miracles Abwaje. Dennis, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, your final thoughts. I asked a pointed question to Dr. Otokuno. How can the problem be solved from his end? From your end, what do you think the cure is, and what are your expectations?
There are two ways. Continuous public education and then enforcing the laws. That's the only way to deal with crime. You know, some of the minors are also even victims. Some of them recently are taken to registration centers and engage things without the mineral. And so we need to in the public and personalization for people to understand the biggest issues on you if you read stuff actually. But most importantly, we must see and enforce the law against attempts to register minors so that it serve as a deterrent. But outside this, I don't see any other way.
All right. Thank you, Dennis, for sharing your thoughts. Let's hear from Dr. Osai Kwapong. You have the final word.
I do agree that public education is important. You need to keep appealing to people. You need to keep appealing to the political parties. But most importantly, both Dr. Tokuno and Miracles are agreed that you also need to enforce the law. The security agencies must make sure that peace is always maintained. And if you are found to have caused any infractions of the law, you should be dealt with.
Thank you, Dr. John Osai Kwapong, for joining the conversation.